Welcome to the Disturbance. What? Alright, hey, honey, I'm in the middle of doing a voiceover on Fiverr for one of those Earthlings that does something called a podcast. Alright, I'll take out the trash when I'm done. Welcome to the Disturbance, hosted by Dave DeVaugh.
Coming up on The Disturbance, we take a quick look at Luka Doncic and how he is actually becoming a National Basketball Association legend at just the ripe old age of 21. Plus, Earl Thomas goes all Antonio Brown on the Baltimore Ravens and actually gets kicked off the team, basically meaning he's losing a $10 million contract. I'll give you my thoughts on those two stories, and as always, a whole lot more coming up on the big show today. Now, if you are new to The Disturbance, please go ahead and subscribe to the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a big red button that's pretty easy for you to see. So go ahead and subscribe there. If you're listening to this on any of the 100 plus podcast platforms that exist throughout our universe, please just go ahead and try to figure out where the hell that specific subscribe button is on that platform that you're listening to this on. But today we begin with the legend that is Luka Doncic. Now, I have been saying for about 2 years now that Vlade Divac deserved to be fired for completely botching this whole Luka Doncic thing where the Sacramento Kings could have easily taken Luka Doncic in the draft. Instead, that didn't happen, and eventually Luka ended up in Dallas. So the Dallas Mavericks, who took a little while to sort of figure out how to use a guy like Luka, at the age of 21, in his first playoff series, had 43 points yesterday, 17 rebounds. And you know, a lot of times when a player scores 43 points, they have like 2 or 3 assists. Well, not Luka. Luka had 13 assists. Now, I have some sort of deep analysis about why Luka is so great, which we're going to get into here in a second, which sort of separates him apart. But when you see a performance sort of like the one Luka put on against the Los Angeles Clippers on Sunday, you can't help but sort of try to make some comparisons to other great basketball players in the National Basketball Association. So the two that absolutely come to mind to everybody is, Magic Johnson, and he's got some Larry Bird in him. But there's a third player, which is Kevin McHale. And when Kevin McHale, who was sort of the Swiss Army knife of the National Basketball Association, he had 100 different moves when he got down on the low post. And when I watch Luka Doncic play, and I guarantee I'm the only member of the media saying anything about Kevin McHale right now, but watch Kevin McHale, watch old footage of Kevin McHale, and then watch some of these moves that Luka Doncic makes, especially when he's sort of down in the post near the hoop. And of course, Luka is like half a foot shorter than Kevin McHale was. But still, take a look at it because there is a lot of comparisons there. Now, of course, in the open court comparisons with Magic Johnson are certainly justified. Luka's a great passer. And then, of course, Larry Bird's ability to pass is vastly underrated as well as his court presence. And we all know that Larry the Legend was absolutely fantastic at draining threes and hitting mid-range jump shots. Larry, especially early in his career, was unstoppable, sort of the way Luka has sort of become, in his the end of his second season in the National Basketball Association. For the life of me, I still don't understand what Vlade Divac and the Sacramento Kings were thinking. Now, if you haven't heard, Vlade has resigned finally from the Sacramento Kings. So when you look at Luka and you look at the performance, a couple things sort of come to mind. And if you're going to get, really deep into the analysis of the world of sports, and you look at the way Luka plays, and I went back and I looked at a bunch of different plays in the game on Sunday. I sat there with the clicker and I stopped things, went back, and I stopped things and I went back. And what I realized was that it didn't matter if there were 4 defenders. There's a play in yesterday's game where he gets a pick up at the top of the key, and then he moves around the pick, and he's now entering the free throw line, and there are 4 Los Angeles Clippers there in a zone defense. There are 4 Los Angeles Clippers there in a zone defense. There are no Dallas Mavericks. Like, the Mavericks moved into a spread offense and everybody just spread out. There are 4 Los Angeles Clippers. And he drives straight to the hoop and scores an easy layup. It was either just extraordinarily bad defense or it was deception by Luka Doncic, which is what I think a big part of that was. When you watch Luka coming off of a pick, he either makes a move at full speed to the hoop, where a lot of times he'll actually end up dishing the ball to somebody else that's rolling off of a pick and roll, or sometimes we'll do the other thing that you do in those cases if you're not going to shoot, and he'll pass it out to somebody who's sitting on the 3-point line. So when Luka hits the middle of the court, when he's near that free throw line, that is when Luka Doncic, I know everybody's in love with the 3-pointer. Hell, the Houston Rockets earlier today shot 58 3-pointers, a National Basketball Association record, and lost the game. That was after they went 8 for 8, hitting threes, coming out of the third quarter, and they still lost the game. So everybody's fascinated with threes. And of course, Luka won the game in one of the most dramatic moments in National Basketball Association memory. Let's keep it in perspective, though, shall we? That was a first-round game against the Los Angeles Clippers to tie the series up at 2. I know things are weird in 2020, but let's keep that game in perspective. That being said, whenever Luka hits that free throw line, he then can easily make quick passes off of it. He slows down sometimes and then moves into his Euro step motion, which is really where the Kevin McHale type moves come. You don't know if he's going to go left. You don't know if he's going to go right. It's just basically one of those things that if the team needs Luka, and they don't need him to do this every night, but in the event that the team needs Luka to put the team on his back, he has 100 different moves to actually do it, which is what we saw on Sunday. Look, if Porzingis had played, Luka probably would have scored 30, but probably wouldn't have scored 43 in that game, and we wouldn't be having this the legend of Luka is born conversation. It was everywhere today. It was absolutely everywhere. Look, I love Luka Doncic. I think he's a legendary potential basketball player. We are seeing things that we haven't seen out of a 21-year-old in quite some time in the National Basketball Association. It's a pleasure to watch. He's absolutely in my top 5 National Basketball Association players to watch at any given time. He's one of those players that I'm willing to tell my wife on a Saturday that I am not going to Bed Bath & Beyond today, honey, because Luka Doncic is playing. I'm just saying. All right, so that's some quick coverage of Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. I did get a question through one of our social media channels, and it was a direct message, and they were like, "DePaul, do you think that the Dallas Mavericks have enough to actually beat the Los Angeles Clippers in this particular series?" And as much as I want to say yes, because I do think they have, there is enough will there on that team, I just don't think they really have a deep enough bench to truly take down this Los Angeles Clipper team. Now, if they win the next game and they do it convincingly, then they will, of course, have a legitimate chance. But it's just hard for me to fathom that Paul George is going to continue to play the way Paul George has been playing. I've got to believe that Doc Rivers and that coaching staff of the Los Angeles Clippers are going to get Paul George's head right some way in the next game. So I look for Dallas probably not to win this series, but certainly a very entertaining effort, at least to this point. That doesn't mean I'm not rooting for Luka. Yeah, because any player that can keep me out of going to Bed Bath & Beyond over the weekend, I'm in on. All right, so moving on to our other story of the day on the Disturbance. It has to be a trip into the National Football League. Come with me as I journey to Baltimore, and we go and we start to talk about Earl Thomas and the Baltimore Ravens. And of course, whenever you talk about Earl Thomas, you know that there's a little person in Dallas, Jerry Jones, Mr. Missing in Action for 110 days during all of the social injustice that was going on in this country. Remember Jerry? I guarantee Jerry's going to pop up. he's going to pop up from wherever he's been hiding over the last couple months, and will chime in some way on what's going on with Earl Thomas. Now, we're going to set this up. So Earl Thomas was released earlier in the day by the Baltimore Ravens. He got into a fight with another player. Apparently, there was some sort of vote amongst the players. They were fine with Earl Thomas being kicked off of the team. In addition to that, which makes him a perfect Dallas Cowboy, right? Or a Raider, or Raider of old, I should say. So then apparently a story came out earlier today as well, saying that Earl Thomas was late to practice and didn't seem to care that he was late to practice, and said the reason that he was actually late to practice is that he had to get his car washed. I don't know about you, but it sounds like the dog ate his playbook. Like the excuses, if they are indeed true, are beyond repair. I mean, you do have to move a player like that off your team when you're in the National Football League. Just look at what the Oakland Raiders dealt with last offseason with Antonio Brown. I mean, when I heard all of this stuff start to come down and I saw what was happening with Earl Thomas, I immediately thought about AB. I absolutely immediately started to think about it, because Earl Thomas is not going to get paid by the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens right now are saying they are not going to pay his $10 million contract. Now, that is wrong. I don't have a problem with the Baltimore Ravens deciding to kick him off their team, but under the rules and regulations of the National Football League and this particular contract, Earl Thomas is owed every cent of that $10 million contract. So the Ravens are wrong to not pay Earl Thomas what he's owed. That doesn't mean I don't think they should have kicked him off the team. Look, if all the players are against this guy at this point, and if he's making excuses like, I'm getting my car washed, so that's why I'm late to a meeting, and he's getting in fights with other players, and we haven't even gotten to the start of the National Football League season yet. Usually this is the kind of stuff that happens on a team like the Jets or the Cleveland Browns, after they're 6 weeks into the season and they've won a game. This is usually the kind of stuff that happens. Not to an organization like the Baltimore Ravens that year in and year out seem to always be in the playoffs because it's a good organization. It's got good management, it's got a good owner, and it's got a great coaching staff. So normally this isn't the kind of stuff that happens, but stuff like this even happens to good organizations. Now, I'm not going to say a good organization. What I am going to say is that Earl Thomas and Jerry Jones have secretly been dating on Tinder. No, I'm joking. Earl Thomas and Jerry Jones have secretly had this thing, which isn't even really a secret anymore, where Earl Thomas has always wanted to play for the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones has sort of always coveted this idea of getting Earl Thomas to the Cowboys. Well, Jerry, now's the perfect opportunity for you to do it. Look, bringing a guy like Earl Thomas onto your team that might piss off the rest of the players on your defense might not be such a bad thing for the Dallas Cowboys this year. And here's why. Yeah, we haven't gotten to our Disturbance ratings and predictions yet for the National Football League Conference, the NFC East. We released our NFC South ratings. It's the only division that we've released so far. But the idea behind this preview that we're doing of each division is there are 2 or 3 teams in each conference that have a legitimate chance of winning the Super Bowl. The Cowboys, without getting into great detail, when you actually look at the running game, the offensive line, you look at the linebackers, you look at their pass rush, and even look into their secondary, where it is a little weak at times, but still pretty solid, you can see how we might end up saying that Dallas is one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the National Football Conference that has a legitimate chance this year, at least on paper, of making it to the Super Bowl. Bring a guy like Earl Thomas onto your team. I'm just saying, regardless of whether or not he's going to fit in with the rest of your players, might not matter because you have such a strong sort of nucleus of already in place on the defensive side of the ball. Normally, I'm like a big team chemistry guy, but I think you can get away with a guy like Earl Thomas at this point with a team like the Dallas Cowboys, with an owner like Jerry Jones. All right. So listen, thanks so much for tuning into the Disturbance. If you haven't subscribed to The Big Show, what the hell is your problem? Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to The Big Show. For The Disturbance, I am Dave DeBaugh, reminding you that for more semi-witty sports commentary, please make sure you check out our website at mighty.rep.
Thank you for tuning in to The Disturbance, hosted by Dave DeBaugh. Please go ahead and subscribe to the show now for more semi-witty sports commentary. Seriously, who the hell wrote this copy? Semi-witty sports commentary? It's either witty or it's not.